welcome to ROCA podcast.
Hello and welcome to yet another episode of the ROCA podcast. Today we have with us ANiket Duggal. Hi Aniket, how are you?
Hey, and what's up, guys? Thank you for bringing me on here.
All right.
Right, so let's get into it.
All right. So,
Yeah.
what do you think of feminism in 2020, and would you call yourself a feminist?
Well, all right. So this is actually a really interesting question. Because a lot of people, when asked this question, they think it's either the girls who think yes, obviously, and if you're not a feminist, get out of my face, or it's all the guys who think that feminism just means bashing guys, and none of them call themselves feminists. So personally, I think that feminism in 2020 is just like, it's like a melting pot. It has its extremities, but I think overall the idea is pretty clean. And personally, I would call myself a feminist. However, like, the word gets dragged in the mud a lot of the times. So if you guys know, like, there's another word called egalitarians, which are basically people who want equal rights for men and women. But that's exactly what feminism is fighting for too, which is why, like, a lot of people wouldn't call themselves feminists, because the word feminist is like feminine. They think that it fights for woman empowerment and woman superiority. So a lot of people don't call themselves feminists. But personally, I think it's fine to call myself feminist, and I think that it's a pretty good movement.
I mean, but it's been created as like female superiority. Like maybe 40 years ago, feminism would not have been looked at as that. It would have been looked at as equality. But then again, 40 years ago, most men may not have wanted equality for women.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what a lot of people say, that first wave, second wave feminism is perfect, because back then, when men were genuinely, like, there was rampant abuse. People, like, no one would getting any divorces because they think that's a shame to their family. Women deserve to be in the kitchen, stuff like that. Yeah, feminism was more useful back then. And now people are like, oh my God, this guy, he complimented my body, I think he's raping me. Somebody call the police. That's feminism. That's what a lot of people think it is, like, in 2020, which is why, like, I'm guessing, like, let me ask you guys, would you guys call yourself feminist?
The thing is,
I do.
feminism
I would.
itself, I think feminism itself is a really good thing, because it is based on the idea that, both genders should have equal rights,
Right.
But I think at this point, we've reached a stage where feminism is not about gender equality, but about like the females being superior about like over men.
Well,
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that entirely. The true feminists, quote unquote, or like the people that actually want equality, I would say those people are actual feminists. And the others,
But I'm
like,
saying most of the, like, the what you always see, like, when you open TikTok, or when you watch this and this, it's always the extreme feminism that you see.
Yeah, but that's the thing with, like, any group for that matter. I think, in my opinion, it's always like the extreme side always gets highlighted a lot more.
Yeah.
And you think that it's only that side that makes up the majority, when it may be like, in my opinion, I think a minority of feminists have the whole female superiority mindset, and it's just that minority talking louder and making more noise than the rest of them, which is what makes it seem like the entire group is like that. It's not, in my opinion.
Yeah, I completely agree, because in anything, even if you look at politics, like, liberals versus conservatives, it's always a very vocal minority, such as, like, whenever you talk to a liberal, what do you think of conservatives? They think every single one's like a white supremacist, alt-right, like, homophobic piece of shit.
That's the case.
But it's just like the very vocal alt-right minority that everybody just bases it off of. And I completely agree with you, Ray, on the fact that just a very small minority who go to Twitter, the ones who are like, yes, cancel any man who, says anything slightly bad.
I think that people are just, okay, that's not only for women to men, that's also on the other side, like men to women, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
That they're just generalizing off one bad experience. So let's say, like, you have this one girl, right? She had a boyfriend, but she got played by the boyfriend, right? And now she's generalizing and saying all men are trash, kill all men.
Right.
Men are useless. So I think
it's kind of like, the less you got, like, the less intelligence you have almost, or like the less you have in your head, the more noise you're making, because you've got nothing better to do.
The dumbest person is always the loudest in the room.
Yeah,
So
exactly. You know,
Exactly.
the old
Yeah.
phrasing that says like empty vessels make more noise. So
yeah,
yeah, it's like
Definitely.
I also like I don't know if any of you guys use Twitter or TikTok a lot of the times, but this whole
yeah.
political ideology gets pushed a lot, like very
Especially on
often on there.
Twitter. I feel like Twitter is like the hotspot for dumb people. Like after Facebook, that's like the hotspot for dumb people. I feel
Honestly, like mini side rant, but I think like Twitter's a cesspool for these kind of like political debates.
yeah.
Especially like I'll talk about it later on too, but like people like Sky Jackson, what they've been doing to quote unquote solve racism and fight
She's been
sexism.
DDoSing
You know,
people for
let's
no
just get
reason.
into that right now. Why later? Let's get into the whole
Okay, yeah.
Sky Jackson's
Afterwards.
doxing the 13-year-old. What's that all about? I didn't.
Okay,
So
well, basically, go ahead.
yeah, so you know Sky Jackson, right?
Yeah, everyone knows her.
Yeah, so in order to solve racism and like solve like what's it called? Gender equality, whatever. What she's been doing is leaking people's addresses and like DDoSing. You know what DDoSing is?
Not a clue.
So for example, okay, so you're connected to an IP address, right? You use your Wi-Fi, you have
Yeah,
your internet. So
yeah.
what a DDoS attack is it's a virtual attack where depending on how strong it is, hundreds of millions of computers, virtual computers, attack your Wi-Fi system, which means your Wi-Fi is down. So your internet's
Like bots.
Um,
She
well,
basically
not to
got.
mention, like I'm not too sure. Like, yeah, I know she's been doing so many shady stuff, but the worst part is also not only that, but she's been doxing a lot of kids. So what she does is she gets like, for example, okay, so I'll give you an example what actually happened. So you know those things where it's like, um, for your new superhero name, look at this chart, take the first letter of your name, and it gives a word correlating to that, and then take the last letter of
Yeah.
your name and stuff. So what this one guy ended up doing was he did one of those memes, and one of those memes, his superhero name had the N-word in it, and he posted it in the comments. He was 14 years old, and he posted it in the comments. And 82 weeks after he posted this, Sky Jackson was scrolling through and she found it. And what she ended up doing was she went on his account. She found out where he, like his address. She found out his high school, his parents' emails, and she posted it to her Twitter account, which has over 500,000 followers. And she's like, guys, look, this guy's he's a 13-year-old, he's racist, and we need to show him what our power or whatever. And he ended up like Oliver was saying, like they got DDoSed. Apparently his parents lost his jobs. He got expelled from his school. All this for a stupid meme he did like back when he was 13. And
So
this is her way of solving racism, quote unquote, because of like the whole Black Lives Matter movement and everything.
before we continue on, I just want to make it very clear to the audience. We definitely are in support of the Black Lives Matter movement, and we definitely believe that equality is
Oh yeah, for sure.
human right. But what we're trying to discuss here is, as a 13-year-old who is none the wiser, who's uploaded a seemingly harmless comment, even though some of you may agree that it's not, and you may even argue and be right that it is not harmless, it does do harm. But is it correct for a 13-year-old to be facing this sort of stuff? Like, and if it was from another 13-year-old, I don't know, I think it would be almost more reasonable compared to a celebrity adult calling out this child a year and a half later. You said 82 weeks. That's almost a year and a half
Yeah,
later.
that's the thing. Because Sky Jackson, yeah, she isn't a full-fledged like 20, 30-year-old woman, but she's a
And like,
celebrity,
yeah,
so she needs to know her fan base. She has 500,000 followers on Twitter. That's not a small number.
Definitely.
I mean, but
Definitely.
think about it. And I think a lot of this has got to do with celebrities trying to stay relevant, because
Yeah.
nowadays there's just so many fucking celebrities. It's not even funny anymore. There's no limit
TikTok
to
and Twitter and Instagram and YouTube, everyone.
And there's like platforms created. If you're the first one on there, boom, you're a celebrity.
Exactly.
And well, I mean, like, well, we used to watch that show that she was on Disney.
Jesse, yeah.
Jessie, yeah, when we were what, like 9, 10, 11, 12.
Mm-hmm.
So she's probably like, that was 10 years ago is when she was famous. But like, she doesn't do anything now. I mean, I don't know if she does.
Yeah,
but
no, not really. Not really that
yeah, it's
relevant.
not enough because like she's essentially not that famous anymore, right? And so
Exactly.
what does she have to do to stay relevant then? And I think this is just it's toxic on a whole other level.
See, I
But honestly,
understand. I
no, yeah, go ahead.
understand. I understand the reason behind why she did it. Like she wanted to like express, like show an example, like, okay, this is what's gonna happen when you do that and that. I'm
Right,
not gonna
yeah.
say it was the right thing to do, because it was not, because she destroyed his life and his parents' life. But she just wanted to show that you shouldn't be doing stuff like that, and that it can get you into serious
Mhm.
trouble.
Yeah, but there are better ways to make an example of someone than destroy
Definitely,
their life. She could
definitely.
have called him out. She could have called him out. She could have made even fun of him. I don't care. And then she should have tried to educate him. Like, why did you say this? You should not have said this.
But
Explain why
well,
he should not have said.
it was only a 13-year-old by that time. 13-year-olds.
Yeah,
13-year-olds play Call of Duty on the Xbox,
Oh my God, let's not talk about PlayStation
exactly,
parties. The
exactly.
kind of things that get
yeah,
said.
right.
So
And so he must have been hearing it like just a voice without a face, and he must have thought it's okay or it's maybe even cool to say it, even though it's not. And so he did, and he didn't even. It's not like he was insulting someone by using that. He essentially
It was the
called
context.
that word. Yeah, I mean, so again, grossly taken out of context what he was saying, and then absolutely lambasted him, completely destroyed his future.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Mm.
unless it's a community college, he's not going to get into any other college unless he's got like some mind-boggling grades. He's just not. No college is
Yeah,
going to want to take it
that's like,
like publicly doxed to the max. Like this is the point of no return sort of shit. It's not funny because you fucked his life from the age of 13.
but like, yeah, okay. I think, yeah, we kind of got derailed though. Back to the thing about
It's fine.
gender. Because like the reason I brought it up is because a lot of the times what Sky Jackson and a lot of other celebrities are doing, especially like, because I use TikTok quite often because it's really like a good hub to see the leftists and rightists come together and start arguing. And a lot of people with like over 1 million, 2 million, 3 million followers, they post stuff like that, where they take one guy saying something about. So for example, on TikTok there was this new trend of women just completely making fun of men. So she was like, if you're trying, one girl posted, if you're trying to get over your crush, imagine him crying in his room, because they were trying to make him look like, part of my language, but they were trying to make him look like a pussy on TikTok. And all her followers and all the comments were like, yes, queen, look at them, let's make fun of all these people. And then the hashtag kill all men, hashtag all men are trash, all these hashtags went viral.
yep.
Yeah, but then
And
again, if a guy made a girl feel like shit, then he's a dickhead and a jerk.
No. What happened was she just said to her random followers. One of her followers said, "Hey, I have a crush on a guy, but he rejected me." Like straight up, she asked him out. He said no. Simple as that. How do I get over him? And then she was like, "Imagine him crying in his room at night. Imagine him going through difficulties, just basic human activities." And she started demonizing all these.
See, the problem is that that's the problem of toxic masculinity in like today's age.
Cry, or
It's
imagining
2:45.
sorry about that, or imagining the girl crying, that would be like you would be facing maybe even like
Exactly.
legal cases and shit. Be like, oh, I don't know the legal, but I'm sure you can like sue someone for like defamation or something like that. And that would probably happen if a guy did that to a woman. And like another thing I read somewhere that they said like at a baseball game a couple of years ago or something, a streaker went onto the field and she touched all the players' bums,
No,
right?
I know that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that sounds pretty funny, except if a male streaker had done that, he would have been facing prison time. She just got kicked out of the game.
That's one thing that I really want to highlight, the hypocrisy that if you switch the genders, I know not everything's as simple as just switch the genders around, because women face some things men don't, and vice versa. But like the example you brought up, if you simply just switch the genders and all of a sudden the guy could be facing prison time, there's a very high chance that what the woman did was completely, like, it was irrational, it was horrible, and it was absolutely disgusting. But they don't face any repercussions because men are meant to be these pillars in society who can't feel anything. They don't feel any emotions. And women can do, you know, whatever they want, because guys, if they start crying, they're called out from society as pussies and weak, and, you know, they aren't strong enough to, you know, just go through daily life, which is, like Oliver was saying, toxic masculinity, which I think is so prevalent and important
Yeah.
to address
Also,
in
one
today's
thing.
times.
Also, one thing is, I've seen it because we were talking about TikTok, so why not just, you know, follow up with it? As I've seen a lot of TikToks about false accusations, false rape accusations in the
Yeah.
last few days, and I think that's also a really bad thing. You know, it really can destroy someone's life. And
I mean, it has. I mean, there's so many examples of predominantly black high school athletes, like Division 1 athletes, who like on the pathway to major success, on the pathway to actually
Right.
making it big, on the pathway to pulling their families out of poverty. And what happened? Some random white girl just goes, "Oh, he raped me," and then boom, it's her word against his, and almost 90% of the cases,
but
the girl redeemed.
I do have to say
That
that
guy's life is
I do have to say that
because
only 3% of the accusations are
Yeah.
actually false.
I
So
wanted to bring that up.
it's not like 70% of the accusations are actually false. It's only 3%, but it's still like out of 100, it's still 3 people that, you know, can't make it in life.
I mean, false accusations on a minor, okay, the age of becoming an adult most places in the world is 18. Most high school students are either like
I know,
16,
yeah,
17,
but that's not the
right?
point. I'm saying,
As a 17-year-old, I know what you're saying, that the chances of a false accusation are very small, like minuscule, but they shouldn't be for like, you should take more, you should be more in depth in the actual court case when you're dealing with a minor, because you don't know, you could be setting or ruining
yeah,
this
that's
guy's
what I'm
life.
saying. Yeah.
And if it's a 35-year-old, you may even, or even if it was like a 50-year-old, you may even waive the fact, or you may not look in that deep into the accusation to see whether or not it's a false accusation. But if it's a 17-year-old on the line, you really kind of have to, you know, because
Hmm.
Yeah. But I just wanted to, highlight the same thing that Oliver was saying, that a lot of men discredit stuff like the hashtag Me Too movement, and, you know, just a lot of victims by saying, okay, but false rape accusations are very bad, which is like, it's true. But like Oliver was saying, 3% is almost like, if I was like, you have probably have a higher chance of dying in in like a car accident than you do of getting falsely accused. But people still drive cars every day. So like the chances are really low, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist at all. So the main thing I'm just trying to hammer in was the innocent until proven guilty mindset, that a lot of people think that the second a woman accuses someone, it's guilty until proven innocent. A good example would be, I don't know if you guys remember, but the whole Johnny Depp Amber Heard situation,
Yeah.
where she accused him of abuse. She just said one sentence on Twitter, or, you know, to her followers, and he got kicked out of like all his projects, and everyone hated him. I've read so many anecdotes of people vowing never to watch another Johnny Depp movie because he's a villain, a monster. And it took Johnny Depp 82 videotapes and, you know, 82 pieces of evidence ranging from video, audio, physical, emotional, all these proofs to show that it was actually the other way around. And
Yeah.
despite all of that, like, tell me the last time you heard about Amber Heard facing any repercussions. I don't know anything that's happened. I know she's been in a few law cases, but at prison time, like any compensation, financial compensation, I don't know anything. And
I
I'm just
mean,
like, you
he's
know,
probably gonna sue her for defamation though, because
oh, he sued her not only for defamation, but for literally just abuse, for domestic abuse. But the
yeah,
second that came out, like, for example, on Reddit, a lot of like the feminist subreddits, the second it came out that it was the other way around, they instantly went private. Or anytime someone talks about Johnny Depp, they remove it, because then it shows the other side of the argument, which a lot of people don't want to face, because it shows that women can also be abusers, which is not something commonly seen in today's society.
and I think because it's not commonly seen, people think it doesn't nearly even exist. You
Exist, or
know,
yeah.
that's part of the issue.
So that's what I still one sec. Where was, yeah, this ties in perfectly into a lot of my other things. What I wanted to talk about, like men, for example, are statistically more likely to be victims of violent crime. Men are 3 to 4 times more likely to commit suicide. You know, like 90 to 95% of men face these kind of, you know, either sexual abuse or sexual harassment in their lives. Because, like you were mentioning, you know, when the streaker touched all their asses, nobody thinks that's anything's wrong with that because they're men, and you know, a woman can do whatever she wants and get through with it. And a lot
Or
of
like
this,
this
like,
like it or something. I think that's the
yeah,
more bullshit I've ever heard. It's like, oh, why are you complaining if a woman's touching you? You should like it.
right.
But
Oh
like,
my God, yes.
I mean, okay, why are you complaining if a guy's touching you? You should like it, yeah. I mean,
It's the same thing where, um,
like that's such shit because it just
But
it's
you know, the
proper.
same thing, the same problem. I wanted to say is that, well, what I wanted to say is, you know, still, we should all have equal rights. But the thing is that, you know, women are biologically built different than men, right?
yeah, that, like,
So,
factually, yes.
so the problem is why, for example, not many women are in the CEO positions or CFO positions or whatever, in the top management positions, is because, for example, what are you going to do if the you have a female CEO, right, and she gets pregnant and she can't work for the next few, I don't know, let's say
Hmm.
5 months.
I
Who
actually have something interesting to add on when you're done.
you can't just replace the CEO with just like, oh, just come on, let's go, you know?
Hmm.
I mean, I heard an interview with Jordan Peterson, and he was asked the same question: why do women have? So he claimed that the pay gap doesn't exist, and
Right.
he's and so I don't fully agree with that. I do think the pay gap does exist, but his point was simply being that you say that women are getting paid less for the same job than men, except they're not technically doing the same job. Sure, it's the same title position, but a man, just by whatever nature or in general, this is, I can't speak on behalf of all men, but a man in general is more likely to devote more of his time to the workplace rather than his family. Now, no one's saying this is healthy or this is good. It's just the way it is. And
At
a
the same
woman would,
time, it isn't, you know, it's not necessarily like bad either, because like biologically it's been proven that women, they are better at motherhood rather than men, who are more likely to be the breadwinners of the family. So it's just obvious that women would spend more time with their families while men spend more time for their families at the workplace.
yeah, and that's the difference. And it doesn't necessarily mean that it can't be the other way. I mean, if you're a woman and you want to go out and earn big bucks, you can do it. There's nothing stopping you, right? It's just you would obviously face maybe a little more discrimination in the workplace, but that's got nothing to do with the pay gap per se. That's just more to do with office culture, and that needs to change. That definitely needs to change. We need to be, um, I guess, treating male and female workers as the same. But the whole claim of them doing the same job, I think that's a bit. It's not completely true. It's, I would
Yeah,
say,
I mean, I don't know about
and
you guys, but like, if I was in a relationship and like my wife wanted to earn more while I could stay home, take care of the kids, you know, and lead a more relaxed life, I'm not gonna be the one complaining about this. So
yeah,
if someone
I mean,
wants to go out and earn more or work harder, that's fine. But like you were saying, a lot of the
I think,
times
yeah,
it discredits or doesn't take into account like the college major, the work. Like if a woman goes into poetry and the guy goes into mechanical engineering, like, gee, I wonder who's gonna earn more money. So it doesn't look into all these external factors like the
yeah.
pay gap,
Yeah.
the wage gap, and such.
Honestly, even if both parents are working, if both the husband and the wife is working full time, 9 to 5, and like both want to do, I think that's still fine. I mean, I know that's still fine because that's pretty much the case with my parents. Both my
My
parents
parents
work
too.
full time, yeah, and I know for a fact both of them almost never come home on time. Some days my mom comes home later, some days my dad comes home
Yeah,
later.
same.
And so it's got nothing to do with, like, on a large scale. It's more on a personal level what that said person, man or woman, wants to do, whether it's career wise or family wise or whatever. And it's not wrong or it's not right either. It's no right or wrong. It's simply a personal choice,
Right.
right?
Yeah,
And
Oliver, what do you think?
I think that, you know, I think if the people listening to this, they need to listen to the whole thing, because like the whole from the beginning, because if they just skip to this part now and just
Oh my
listen to
God.
this, you know, Sky Jackson situation, you know.
Oh God, no, Jackson, please don't come for us, please. I'm just
So-
16.
So you know, we just gotta. Obviously, there's a pay gap, and I think
Mhm.
it's not really the fault of, you know, the employee or
Yeah,
the
like,
company
yeah,
itself. I think it's just same with racism, same with every like severe problem in our society. It's just an internal
It's
problem
in
that it's like a
it's
it's like a systematic problem in my
yeah.
right.
Another interesting fact is that in general, women have much more agreeable character traits and characteristics. Just in general, they're more agreeable, which is often why they don't push as hard for salary increments compared to men.
Yeah,
And this is
raises and stuff.
actually there've been studies, and this has been proven. So
Yeah, I've read those. Yeah,
it's this is in general. Once again, for any women listening out there, this doesn't mean that you're gonna be like you're not gonna fight for increase in the salary. You or any individual specifically may be different, but I'm just saying in general that is the case. And so I mean, from any employer's point of view, I mean, if you're not asking for an increase, why would they step out of the way to give you one? You know,
yeah,
I mean
exactly.
that's where it comes down more to business rather than man or woman. Like if a
I
man doesn't
think
ask for it either, then the employer is not going to give it to him. It's like, why would I give money if he's not even asking for it? Even though I know
right.
he may deserve it, but I'm trying to maximize profit.
I think the passive nature, like you were mentioning, it ties into really well into this other like factor I've seen of like the men's versus women, like just basic like differences. Like the woman's passive aggressive, especially like take it into like the relationship, like a social area, where it's always expected for the guy to go out and ask the girl, because they're like since birth, it's always been trained for guys to be the go-getters and women to just like, you know, relax. Which is why, especially like in Indian culture, or, you know, more like older traditional culture, it's always the guys who are trained from birth to get like, you know, to start working out, you know, to look good, to attract mates, while the women just have to learn how to be good wives. I completely disagree with this, but it's just so that, you know, so women, when they're like, it doesn't matter who you get with, as long as you are a good wife to them, you'll be fine. So one of my mom's friends, for example, she has two daughters, and my mom once asked her, I remember, because I was like 8 or 9, and they were
Right.
talking, and my mom asked her, so what do you think, what do you want your daughters to do in the future? And she said, whatever they're interested in, I'm fine with that. If they want to be doctors, engineers, I don't care. And worst comes to worst, even if they don't get anything, we'll just marry her off to someone rich. And when I heard that didn't sit right with me, because it's such a massive discrimination, where if men aren't able to earn or be successful in life, they're just thrown to the streets. But they can't just marry into someone rich. But if it's a woman, then the other way around, then it's like, oh, completely fine, just marry into someone rich, stay home all day, and then, you know, you're set for life.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So yeah, that's what I was saying, the whole passive nature of
Once again, a lot of the issues we have in society, these issues are taught, you know, and it's got a lot to do with, I guess, the way we're being raised, the way we're being
yeah,
education we
definitely.
get. And even if someone is raised with that mentality, I believe schools and like colleges, they almost have a little bit of a moral responsibility to change that particular mindset
Yeah,
in some
true,
way or the other.
true.
I mean, like, I'm not an expert educator. I'm not going to even suggest ideas on how to do it, but I'm pretty confident that should anyone do some research, there would definitely be ways to do that.
The thing is, just us talking about this, the problem is like a lot of us, like if someone, a third party who doesn't know any of us, listen to this, they'll probably label us as like these alt-right kids, you know, being indoctrinated into like sexism and stuff, which is why having this discussion is so hard a lot of the times, because if you just disagree or go against the grain, people are immediately going to hate on you. There's a reason we aren't here talking about, like, you know, like you said, the wage gap, sexism, and racism, because we'll all agree on it. And then once we agree on it, there's no point in having a discussion, because it's not going to change anyone's minds, which is why I'm so interested in like the men's rights and everything, because it isn't as socially acceptable to talk about this. And if you talk
Yeah.
about this, people call you an incel, you know, they make fun of you, and they you know, they just make fun of you all the time, and they think you're just being stupid. which is why I just want to highlight to the people listening to that, like you guys constantly mention, that anybody listening to this would probably just think we're super like crazy incel alt-right people, but like that's just not the case.
Definitely.
If you're listening to this and you think that, honestly, just get off. Just go away.
You're in the wrong place.
You're in the wrong, not in the wrong place, but if you can't, you don't have to agree with every view. You have the right, obviously, to disagree with certain views, or damn it, you could disagree with all the views that you don't agree with. But that doesn't mean that they're wrong or
Yeah,
you're right,
personally you can
you know?
disagree, but factually they don't have to be wrong, you know?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Anyways, let's
Another
get.
thing, wait,
Continue.
one more thing I want to ask you. When's the, like, this is pretty, like, I know this is like meme to death, but genuinely, like, when is the last time any of you guys have gotten like a genuine compliment from a girl?
I do a couple of times.
No, I'm being for you, because I'm gonna tie this into something else. I'm gonna tie it into something else.
Well, I
When's
don't
the last time you got
like.
a genuine compliment?
I mean, it's the thing is, I do get sometimes, but it's not like every single day. And like, oh my god, you're the boy of my dreams. You know, it's just
Right.
small things like, oh, nice hair, or like, oh, nice, I don't know what, you know. So
I think it was either yesterday or the day before, but it's not like it's an everyday sort of thing either. I don't think I've ever got a, what's it called, like unprovoked, like just out of nowhere, out of the blue, sort of, hey,
Right.
that's nice, sort of, whatever, you know.
Yeah,
I think it's
exactly.
always been, either I've said something, or like we're talking, I've showed them a picture or something, and be like, oh, you kind of look.
You prompted basically.
Yeah, it's almost like a shit. Like it's almost like they kind of. You almost feel like they have to say it just like they don't seem rude.
Exactly.
Maybe it's just because we're just losers, you know. Maybe that's the reason.
No, listen.
Not ruling that out.
That's what I wanted to tie it into. Because personally, for me, and it's probably been a couple months, especially since quarantine. The last time I saw someone, it's been a good like couple months. And it's like you said, it's probably a big chance that we just don't talk to enough people, or we just aren't agreeable. But I've talked to almost every single guy in my grade. I've talked to people outside my school, and I've talked to people online. And it's a very like worrying pattern, mainly that guys are so compliment starved, which ties into the whole, now girls are like, I can't talk to any guy without him being creepy or trying to get in my pants and stuff, which is obviously, it's completely wrong, unprovoked, it's sexual harassment. But it also ties into the fact that usually guys are so compliment starved that any sign of affection, like if just a female striking a conversation up by herself, is enough for them to start thinking, wow, I think I'm in love with this girl. Which I think ties into the whole...
But also the other thing that could happen is not only that, but maybe it's because, maybe what could happen is, you know, let's say a girl is interested in me, right? And she comes up to me and tries to like give me compliments and everything. And one thing that people could say, especially when the whole situation goes wrong, is that she's a whore, maybe, or like that. You know, she.
Yeah, there's a big stigma against women.
Team, you know, so. So yeah,
I completely agree.
I wanted to add to that is, like, I think the reasons girls tend to lose their shit when they get one insult is because they're so used to being complimented. It's like that's
yes.
For them, their norm is they should always be complimented.
I saw it somewhere, something that's honestly so true that
and then, but like for men, they're just so used to quite the opposite, that if they do get a compliment, they'll remember that compliment word for fucking word.
Exactly. Like roast culture is so common amongst guys. Like me and you, even when we were in the cricket bus, right, we used to just make fun of each other all the freaking time, because that's just how it is. That's just how guys talk.
Yeah. Anyways, we'll get back to this in a minute. We're just gonna take a little break right now.
All
right.
Right, and we're back from our little break. So yeah, where we left off was, I was just saying that if men get a compliment, they just treasure it much more, and it actually means a lot more to them than when women do, just because of, like, I know this is gonna sound cringy, but supply and demand almost, you know? Just, they're so starved for it that when they do get it, they're like, wow, maybe she really meant that. You know?
I saw this I saw this analogy online, and it's honestly so true. But that a woman getting a compliment is like giving like throwing water on a guy in a swimming pool. So someone who's already swimming and throwing water at them, and giving a guy a compliment is like giving a water bottle to someone in the desert. Obviously, the person who's in the swimming pool who's drowning doesn't want more water. So they'd be at this point they'd be angry, which is why girls can, they call you creepy and stuff like that if you throw random compliments out. But the guy in the desert who's almost dying of thirst, even if you literally piss in a bottle and give it to him, he's gonna drink that down, because anything is better than nothing, and they get easily attached to you.
Like, it doesn't even have to be a genuine compliment,
It could honestly be like, wow, you're a lot less annoying than I thought you'd be. It's something like that, where it's just a backhanded compliment. Even that is enough for a lot of people to like get attached, which I think it just speaks volumes about the kind of people, the kind of culture we're building.
Like, just circling back to toxic masculinity, and
right,
a large portion of toxic masculinity is partly due to men, whether like that whole macho boy, boy culture. But I actually haven't met a single guy like that in my entire life,
Same.
Like,
I don't know a single person who's like the textbook toxic masculine, who, like you were saying.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, like, sometimes I've been called, like people tell me, oh, you're toxic. You're the example of toxic masculinity. And they're like, okay, just because I fit that stereotype, just because that's my character,
exactly,
doesn't necessarily mean I am. I do have my moments when I'm quite the opposite too. I mean, you don't know me. You don't know me for shit, really. I mean, you just met me. And just because my initial impression is like fairly confident, outspoken, loud, etc., you think, oh, he's just like a typical.
Ray, actually, you're pretty desperate.
Gotti.
That was a quick joke. That was a quick insider.
I'm just saying that toxic masculinity is bad, but like all those things that like men are like, it's toxic masculinity to think that men are always supposed to be the providers, the protectors, etc., etc. But if a man's character is naturally that,
yes, I was just gonna talk about that,
and he's good at that, then fucking let him be. Don't skip on him and then say, oh, it's toxic masculinity, that's why I'm shitting on him. Right?
Once again,
So I don't want to problem. Sorry guys, but one problem that I see in especially like gender inequality or equality is when, let's say you have a family, right? A dad, a mom, and a kid, right? There's only one kid, and the mom wants a divorce, right?
Oh my god, I wanted to bring this up to you. You guys just reading my mind.
In so many cases, the kid goes to the mom, and the dad has to pay, for the rest of his life, or for the rest
alimony.
I don't know. I think 18 or 20. I'm not sure. It's different in every country.
If I can just like bring something up. Hold up.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So I was prior to just getting on, I was looking stuff, statistics just to help further this, and here it is that a woman can name any man she likes as the father. He gets a letter in the mail. If he does not prove he is not the father within 30 days, even like, for example, the letter could get lost, or he could have been away from his home. So if somehow he doesn't prove that he is not the father within 30 days, he is now the father and must pay child support. He cannot contest this. I'm not sure where exactly. I'm pretty sure this is America. And I was just going to bring that up. How if a woman doesn't want a child, abortion, easy, put him up for adoption even after birth. But if a guy doesn't want an abortion, if a guy doesn't want a child, he can't force a woman to get an abortion, because I agree, pro-choice, obviously. And he can't push it up for adoption either, because it's the woman's choice. And he can't dispute child support because it's his own flesh and blood. So the woman's going to force him for 18 years to pay child support month after month after month.
Mm-hmm.
That's what, like, the judicial system, the discrimination against men in that it's so disgusting that it's amazing that it's gone under the radar. But like, if you understand,
it's gone under the radar because who's going to speak up then? Because they're like, oh, you're a man, you shouldn't be.
Exactly. Like, if I can rattle off a couple more things. Look, women receive lighter sentences, higher chances of acquittal. Men receive 63% longer sentences on average than women do. And women are twice as likely to avoid incarceration if convicted. the gender gap between men and women is about 6 times as large as the racial discrepancy between white and black people. Men are more likely to get the death penalty and so on and so forth, especially against statutory rape. Like bringing it all the way back to what you said, Ray, about, you're a guy, you should like it. If a teacher sleeps with her underage kid, the guy and all his friends are going to be like, my man, let's go, that's a good thing, even if the guy doesn't consent. And most of the time the teacher doesn't face any repercussions, even though that's literally rape. And if the genders were reversed, the guy, not only would he lose his job, he'd lose everything in his life, and his life would be ruined forever. So this judicial discrepancy is just, it's so frustrating to look at. And the fact that nobody talks about it is twice as annoying.
Definitely. And
Definitely.
the thing, I don't know if you guys mentioned it, maybe I overheard it, but so back to the example of divorce, right? So, when the mom divorces, the man has to like give away half of his belongings, right? But
Yeah.
the other way around, so if the man wants to, take a divorce, the woman doesn't like she doesn't have to do the same things. It's not the if they
even
want,
if a guy wants to get a divorce, he still has to give 50% of his things. It doesn't matter who initiates it. Either way, he's losing 50% of his things.
yeah, that's
Something funny, yeah, like relating it to the whole thing is, this isn't like me trying to be, all women suck, screw it, like all of that, because that's a lot of insult talk. But if you look at the top 10 richest women in the world, and you look, this is a
Yeah.
fact, if you look at all of the way they earn their money, I don't have it in front of me, but it's inheritance, divorce, and it just inheritance and divorce, basically. So a lot of the daughters of like I think it's the CEO of Walmart and so on and and such. She inherited the money. And one thing I wanted to talk about was Mackenzie Bezos, who divorced Jeff Bezos and got 50 billion. Oh my, that number's insane. $50 billion just
For doing-
like overnight.
yeah, that is crazy.
Over freaking night. And just like that, if one thing that happened recently, I don't know if you guys were aware, but Adele got a divorce with her husband, and she had to part with $140 million, I think, or something like that, which is a large sum of money. And all, like, as far as I saw, all the women on Twitter, on TikTok, on Instagram, they went insane. But like, how dare, why is the court forcing this hard-earning queen to separate with her money? And I couldn't help but laugh, because clearly, like, the hypocrisy, the irony is just insane. Because when this happened with Jeff Bezos, nobody batted a single eye. Nobody gave a shit. But now that the genders are reversed, everybody cares. It's just laughable, honestly.
Definitely, yeah.
But yeah, bringing this up, the judicial system, the divorce case, I think that just one final thing before you guys can talk about, go on, is the whole idea of, like, fat shaming and thin shaming against women. Like, I don't know about you guys, but I'm incredibly skinny, right? But like, I'm incredibly underweight. And the kind of, like, the quote, I don't like the word, but like the body shaming per se, like the way, like, girls and guys, it's understandable because they just roast each other. But the number of times girls have come up to me and completely, like, made fun of me, ripped into me, you have really skinny legs, skinny arms, you look, you look like a twig, they just made fun of me, which is, it's lighthearted. I didn't really care about it. But I was just bringing it up that, like, the number of times that's happened to me, because I'm skinny and I'm a guy, so I should be able to take it. And if I were to fire back at the girl, everybody would be on my throat. Everybody would get pissed at me. How dare you make fun of this beautiful woman? But since I'm a guy, it's completely okay. And this whole body issue thing ties into the lack of compliments. And, it's a whole cycle of constant negativity and toxicity.
Yeah, just to add on to that, I mean, you've got companies and like fashion brands always now just to hop onto the bandwagon, they're hiring plus size models. And I'm saying plus size because a lot of the times that isn't a healthy level of plus. It's okay to be fat. It's not okay to be morbidly obese,
Right, there's a difference.
You don't see anyone hiring fat men. Why aren't fat men glorified?
I have never seen that.
One more thing. There is also a difference between being obese because it's a medical condition
and being obese because you can't stop eating.
Exactly, because you're just a lazy piece of shit.
You like McDonald's.
Like, okay, I'm not the skinniest guy, I also have some stomach, and I'm lazy too, but I wouldn't call myself obese by any means. Like, there's a difference between being fat and being like fat.
Morbidly obese. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely overweight too, and I mean, I get a little bit of shit from my parents, but that's like coming from a place of concern. Even though I'm not like obese, but they can tell me now. They're like, look, if you continue on this path, you will end up, and before you know it, you will end up being obese at dangerously unhealthy levels. I'm be like, yes, honestly, I acknowledge what you're saying, and I'll look into it. Like I'm not gonna get all defensive. Oh my God, don't call me fat. Like
Yeah,
no,
yeah, yeah.
there's nothing wrong with being fat in the first place. Okay, I'm gonna say fat, 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 fat. You're fat, I'm fat, whatever. It doesn't matter. Making fun of someone who's fat in a lighthearted way. I'm gonna go on a limb and say
I
that
don't
doesn't
care.
really
Yeah.
matter too, because you would still make fun of a person who's extremely skinny. Not
Yeah,
everyone is
exactly.
a perfect athletic body. What are you smoking?
And
Right?
see, the problem with that is why so many people get upset when they get, made fun of or they're being called fat or skinny or whatever, is that society puts that image of, the typical body, how you should look like for men and women.
Yeah.
So if you
And
don't, if you don't as a man, if you don't have a six pack, if you don't have, if you're not muscular, if you don't have that kind of hair, if you don't look like that, if your jawline isn't chiseled and stuff like that, then that's especially for teenage people like us who are being even more insecure in that age, that's
Yeah.
what makes it even worse.
like, and again, it's not all women who think that. I mean, but I think the ideal, because it's not really ideal though, but the ideal body type for men and women is greatly flawed both ways around, right? But
Exactly.
society as a whole now, they're accepting women even though they don't have that quote unquote ideal body type. They're accepting women of all kinds, and that is good. That is very good. Men accept that too. I mean, there's literally nothing wrong with that, except why the fuck aren't you doing the same thing for men? You know?
Yeah, I was gonna talk about that exactly. That the whole
If a man's
idea
fat,
that
for yourself, but if a woman's
that
fat, oh, rock that shit, queen. Like, no,
I
you're
mean,
gonna be in a
honestly,
hospital bed in 3 weeks.
if you ever like bring me on again, we could talk. I want to talk about like the hypocrisy of like being a plus size and having model in the same thing. It's a touchy subject, but that's an entirely
Sure,
different thing,
let's get into it now.
right, bruh? All right, okay. Well, that's not really relating to men or women, but the whole idea of, I mean, the point of a model is to showcase clothes and to be attractive. Like that's just on by the books. The point of a model is to be attractive, and so people can get attracted to the brand name. So if you get, I get the idea of normalizing all kinds of weight. I'm all for it. Like you were saying, fat is fat. It's normal. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. But that's like saying it's like getting an English major to become an engineer, so that we can normalize English majors earning high money and
I
stuff.
mean,
Like
if you're
that's not
naturally
how it
born,
works.
yeah,
They're just
like
some prerequisites to being a model, and being attractive, being conventionally attractive is some of it. Introducing like fat people, I'm not going to say plus size because that's just like sugarcoating it. Like the truth is, introducing fat people to it, that's fine, but make like starting to like boycott brands that don't bring on fat people, that don't bring on like transgender people or disabled people, to bring more diversity to a modeling agency. That doesn't make sense.
See, the
I
problem
understand the
is
racial.
sorry, but like
I mean,
the problem is why brands do that. It's not because they don't want to showcase those type of people. It's just they have a monetary background behind that. They're just gonna put, for example,
Exactly.
someone with a six pack, eight pack, and like beautiful eyes and whatever, just gonna put them there because it makes the brand more attractive, and people think, oh, if I buy that piece of clothing, I'll look more like
I,
him. I'll be more attractive
Exactly.
myself. That is the reason why.
It's just basic psychology, honestly. But
I just want
like,
to add on to what Aniket said about the whole analogy of if you've got an English degree, you can't be an engineer. And I think that's right. If you are whatever fat or plus size, or if you are naturally, is that's just the way you are, then I mean there are other fields in which you could actually succeed very well. If you're just naturally
modeling is
like if you look
such a
at
minority.
female weightlifters in like the higher weight categories, if you didn't see them in the Olympics, you would probably end up calling them fat, except they can probably lift double what you can, you know? I mean, so there is something for everyone nowadays, you know, no matter what you are, no matter
Exactly.
tall, short, skinny, fat, dumb, smart, anything. There is always a way, should you work hard and put your mind to it, to make it, you know, to be successful. And
That's the yeah. I completely agree with that. The whole idea of I understood with the racial identity why they want more like black women modeling because that's normal. You know, it's black people don't get representation. But with fat people, it's completely different because you can't change your skin color. But if you are morbidly obese, in a matter of years, you can easily slim down, or the other way around. If you're incredibly skinny, you can easily buff up in a matter of years and end up looking like how you want to, because even whether you're fat, you're skinny, you like it's conventionally attractive to be fit. Why? Because biologically it's just healthier to be fit, so it's understandable. But with race you can't change it, so yes, more race diversity is needed. But the whole idea of bringing a transgender, disabled, fat, I don't know, mentally I'm not gonna go there, but like all these weird criterions to modeling, it makes zero sense to me logistically, because you can change your weight.
yeah, and like we're not saying it's easy either. I mean, people could be overtly skinny because of eating disorders, or like
Right.
they're anorexic or whatever, and it could be the same thing on the other end of the spectrum. No one is saying it's easy. I mean, but at the end of the day, if it is like an eating disorder or a health condition, it should be treated as such. You shouldn't be neglecting it and ignoring it and saying, "Oh, I'm fine. I'm plus size."
Mm-hmm.
No,
Yeah.
you know. And
That's the
so
problem in normalizing this kind of stuff.
is just acknowledging it that yes, you're putting yourself at risk. Now, nobody's asking you to tone down all the way to being like skinny abs or whatever. Like, I know my mom, for example, according to the body mass index, she's overweight, but she can still hold a plank longer than I can, you know?
She's
But I'm
definitely
saying,
not overweight. Definitely not.
yeah. So, I mean, I'm just saying that you don't need to be the perfect body type. But at the same time, you should not be putting yourself at unhealthy levels, you know? I mean, in the middle, this whole plus size model thing reached such a trend where people were actually trying to get more
Yep.
trying to plus. Why would you? It's like saying, I'm trying to get cancer, buddy. Help me out here.
That's the whole
not
problem. When you normalize this, not only are you harming yourself, but you're harming others who think that when this is completely normal, they're gonna go after it and they're gonna try, like you were saying, become more like that, because it's easy to become fat. It's a fact. It's easier to be fat than fit.
I
So
know, because
if you are fit, people will be like, oh, being fat's okay, and then just keep eating and eating and eating until they end up being morbidly obese, and the next thing you know, they're on TLC's My 600-Pound Life. They're like, just jumps on.
that's the thing. Like, I completely 100% agree with you that you don't realize it. Myself, in the middle, I stopped playing sports for whatever reason because I was injured. I stopped working out, and I put on weight like at an astounding rate. And I kept telling myself for the first bit, "Oh, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine." And now I'm like, actually, it's not fine. And I'm getting back into it, you know. And so
Yeah.
you need, the first step is just realizing it and acknowledging it.
But that, like, exactly tying that the whole thing back to like the gender idea too, that men in general, they don't get this. I have not seen a single fat male model or a skinny male model, not one. And if a guy talks about this, oh, who cares, man? The problem that a lot of like feminists have, like extreme feminists have, is that if you talk about a guy's issue, like body issues, they're like, okay, who cares? Women get raped more. Women have higher sexual assault cases. And they just completely derail the argument to show and make it like a competition of who has it worse.
Yeah, I mean, that's not the end goal. The end goal is to make it so that everyone has it better, not to see who has it worse. That's so fucking stupid. I'm just gonna say it.
Exactly. The idea that, yo, this is a competition. It's like oppression points at this point. Like if someone finds out they have like trauma or something, they use it. They go on the internet and they use it against others. Oh, I'm sorry. Are you making fun of me? I have trauma. I don't know am I saying something wrong? Please don't make fun of me. Or I've an eating disorder. Don't make fun of me. And they use it as a cushion. And it's like whoever has more. oppression
trauma.
points is like a winner.
Yeah, like I've seen it where like, oh, you just had one leg broken and suffered like staying in bed for 6 months. Well, I
Exactly.
legs paralyzed. Like,
The
what the
whole
fuck,
idea
bro?
of the whole idea
Point.
of
That's
why are you complaining because kids in Africa have it worse? Like, okay, I didn't know this was a competition, dude. What?
just because a certain person's emotions or trauma isn't as catastrophic as one might relate the word trauma to doesn't mean it's invalid. I think that's something that society needs to really acknowledge and accept, as a matter of fact, that any trauma, no matter how small or big, should be acknowledged for what it is. And how I want to tie that in is that often men's traumas is overlooked drastically,
Yeah,
you know,
completely.
and I think that's because society as a whole, not just men but women too, there's a lot of undue pressure on men. Like we've been talking for pretty much this entire episode, there needs like feminists talk a lot about equality, right? And I've met people who claim to be feminists and who are truly equal, you know, like in every sense of the word. They like if I'm going out with them, like we'll split the check or whatever, or anything,
Yeah.
whatever. Whether it's we're going out or like absolutely anything, it's truly equal. And you realize it's actually better for both parties that way, you know. Anyone
Exactly.
who
Yeah.
is wrong. It's just a fact. You're wrong, and you need to do your research. But
What do you
equality
guys?
has almost always helped both parties.
Yeah. What do you guys think of the all men are trash movement?
I think
Yeah, I mean,
it's the thing. It's the thing we discussed in the beginning that feminism, at its base is really good, but it's just taken too far at this point. It's just.
So you think that it's been taken too far and you completely disagree with the movement?
like
I
on
mean, I'm not
the
saying
bit,
completely. Wait, Ray. I'm not saying completely because some men are trash. Like you have to be honest. Some
Right.
men are
Right.
like literally trash. But you know,
but I think this has a lot to do with groupism. Almost, I think that's a very like neo thing that started. It's a very postmodern thing. It's
All
where
cops are bastards. All men are trash. Yep. Stuff like that.
and,
Kill all men.
and
Those kind of things.
there is some truth to that in a sense. Let me explain to you now. Like in the middle, I saw some Instagram like posts and stories going around like, yes, we know we say all men are trash, but we don't literally mean it. And the only reason, and like, I think the natural reaction of a man when they hear all men are trash, be like, yeah, but not me. And like, I think women know that. I mean, and I'm talking about the women that are reasonable, the women that believe in equality and that sort of stuff, not the alt-right feminists. But
Right.
they understand that, yeah, yes, we're saying all men are trash, but that's the same as saying all cops are bastards. It's not, all cops may not be bastards, but in the institution, it almost makes them. And so in society, it almost makes it seem like all men are trash. And
That I mean, I agree with that. The thing is, I see both sides of the coin. That if you're on Twitter and you're trying to make a movement, it's easy to say all men are trash because the women agree with it and it pisses the men off, so it gains traction. But if you say something like hashtag some men are trash, others are fine, there's some changing that needs to be done. That's not as catchy, and people aren't gonna jump onto that as often, so it doesn't gain any traction, especially on social media where you need like shock humor, or you need something really out of the box to gain attention. So I understand why they'd say hashtag all men are trash, but like personally I completely disagree with the whole idea of it, because it just demonizes an entire group, which a lot of the times feminists try to say, yo, don't make fun of an entire group for small portions of behaviors, which is very hypocritical, because the all men are trash movement is doing exactly that. Even if we're going to assume 1 in 4 men are rapists, which I think it's a pretty outlandish statement, but a lot of people like throwing that around. Even if you assume that, that's still like 25% of men, which is it's still a minority. 25% of anything in science and math, it's a minority. So basing every single person in the 3.5 billion men on Earth off of that, like that one statistic and that small minority, it's so stupid, and I don't think it gets any progression done towards helping this make this planet more equal, because it
I
just
think if
demonizes a lot of people.
I think if it was better explained what they, because I think what the true feminists mean when they say all men are trash or kill all men, I don't think they actually or literally mean all men are trash.
Yeah,
And I think
obviously.
what they're trying to attack is toxic masculinity, in my opinion, right? And I think they believe that a lot of men obviously like they take the form of toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
They make it an abstract idea, and so that's why men are trash.
I still think,
But
yeah, I agree with that. But then sorry, I got a little close to the mic. I still think that the whole hashtag all men are trash just such a gross generalization. A better thing would be like hashtag toxic and can end toxic masculinity, or even toxic masculinity is trash, something like that, where it actually attacks the root of the problem. But just
I would
simply
just
stating all men are trash, it gets nothing done, and it just makes a lot of people angry for no reason.
like you still want to target males, right? So then say it the way you just said, like hashtag end toxic masculinity, hashtag toxic masculinity is trash, or something along those lines. Because again, I think a lot of I'm going to say like millennials as well as Gen Z. A lot of us, we find comfort in the herd. There's always comfort in the crowd, which is why we're so quick to associate ourselves with groups. And we don't tend to realize this, but we, if you're not in a group, you tend to feel really vulnerable.
Yeah,
Whether
that's true.
anywhere, this is whether it's at your local sports club, whether it's at your school, whether it's, I mean, there's groups within friend groups, you know, there's I don't know what's gripped society or whether this has always been the case, but it seems like being alone is very risky and very scary for anyone or
Yeah,
everyone.
obviously.
And that's why, because then it's all multiple people against you. You don't have a group. You don't have a sort of quote unquote your people sort of thing. You know, like you don't have like your boys or whatever. And that can be very scary, you know, because I mean, who do you go to for anything really? Because but that shouldn't be the case. There shouldn't be so many groups and groups within groups, because technically all that's doing is those groups and those groups within groups, they'll form their own niches and their own identities to a certain extent. And that's just creating more like a breakdown of, I don't know how to say it, but you're creating more barriers. You're creating more division.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
And it's not right, because it's like you've got one piece of chocolate, right? And now you're gonna smash it, not cut it up into three pieces. You're gonna smash it. So now there's a million shards, and now it's a whole big mess. And I think that's the same thing that's happening with society. You've got groups, but they're being smashed. They're being transformed into these hundreds of little shards into like, I mean, there's so many different political ideologies now. There's so many different genders or whatever bullshit that's about. You're a man or a woman, or in some cases maybe you're non-binary, but that's like 0.01% when you're born like that, you know. So
Yeah, intersex.
yeah, I mean, there's been too much of fracturing of groups, and it's caused more harm than good anywhere. Because initially, I think it started off with the whole thing, oh, accept who you are, and people have done that, and you know, and the Earth is an extremely diverse place, no doubt about it. But we do have also a lot more in common than we do in different, right? At the end of the day, we're all humans, whether you're Arab, whether you're from New York, whether you're from Vietnam, whether
Yeah.
you're from Australia, you're all human.
Yeah,
And yes, you've got things that set you apart, but I guarantee you for a fact that you will definitely find things that bring you together as well.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on the whole movement thing. Oliver,
Right.
what do you think?
Yeah, I think that, you know, movements are a good thing in total, you know, like the idea behind it, and you know what I mean, like the basic idea is always good. It doesn't matter if it's a movement or if it's ideologies or a religion or whatever, but it's just the way that, you know, for example, communism, right? The idea is
Yeah.
good, but impossible
Mm-hmm.
to execute. So
Right.
you just got to find a way on how to execute that movement without harming too many people or harming anyone. Best case.
And personally, I think the way the all men are trash movement is being executed, I think it doesn't get anything done. It's like performative activism. It's just saying a bunch of stuff to get social media points, so to look good to your followers, but it doesn't actually get anything done. I've never seen a guy who's like, wow, hashtag all men are trash, I really should change my behavior, because then all the people are just thinking, oh yeah, all men are trash, well, I'm not that because I'm one of the good ones. So just like you were saying, it makes these small groups into groups and cliques into cliques, and it gets nothing done. Same thing, especially with like the kill all men. Oh my God, you don't understand how much that annoys me as a hashtag or as a movement, where people say that women can make children out of each other's bone marrows, and the kid. Have you guys heard this before? Where
Yeah, I've heard it a couple
girls
times.
are like, we can make babies out of our bone marrow, and the girl will always come out female, so we don't need anymore. Let's kill them all. And people unironically think that like that's a good idea, and it's so annoying.
Fucking manual labor. Do you realize there's probably not 1% of manual laborers that are female?
Yeah, like 97% of blue collar jobs are just like male people.
And that
That's
brings
the
me
whole-
on to the. Sorry,
Yeah.
but here's one of the questions you just touched on a bit. Like, what do you think, or what are your thoughts on people on social media who just post to gain popularity rather than actually getting anything done? I mean, like similar to what Sky Jackson did with her doxing thing. She didn't get anything done, like at all. She just created a bigger problem of doxing.
Exactly. So like you asked, my thoughts are exactly the same thing as you. The whole, like, tying it back into the old black squares on social media. Remember when that whole thing was a fad, where people would post black squares for Black Lives Matter, that didn't really achieve anything, because I know the whole point was to spread awareness, which, good thing, it spread awareness. But I don't know any like New York governor who was like, oh shit, this 14-year-old white girl said to stop racism with a black screen. And guys, stop racism. It's done. We've solved it. It doesn't actually get anything done. It's just for performative activism to gain followers. I know, I know a lot of people who post the most basic stuff like, hey guys, please don't be racist. And they end up getting like 500,000, 600,000 likes on Instagram. And they keep milking this over and over again. Just to get more followers, even though, like, wow, you shouldn't be racist. Who would have figured? Not me. That's wow. Thank you for the incredible insight into that. And it's just such a flawed system. Like what Sky Jackson does, what people do with the black squares, all of that. It's really annoying.
I think the sad thing is that social media, especially in this day and age, it's a massive platform. It's an unprecedentedly massive platform.
Yeah.
How do you think, or so what do you think people could do to make sure that it's not just performative
Activism? Nah. The thing is, if people genuinely want to make change, I think the only thing you should use social media is to garner towards one big idea. So, for example, I think the most effective thing, if people had gathered around, would be voting in a new government in America. Because with the current Trump administration, I don't want to pile onto the haha orange man bad, but like it's not really going to get much done in the terms of solving inequalities like this. So voting in newer legislation that actually takes active input and makes changes to the government would be useful. Just like with climate change, if you single-handedly start recycling every day, you could do that for 1,000,000 years and that wouldn't make a goddamn difference on this planet. You need to attack the problem at its roots and attack the big corporations that push this kind of systemic problems. Because as an individual, changing one thing will make a difference, which is why the whole idea of, hey, stop saying the N-word, don't make rape jokes around your friends, don't make any sexist jokes, be the ideal person around your friends. Okay, that's well and good, but that in the long run, that's not going to achieve absolutely anything, which is the problem with social media.
I mean, but what do you think of petitions? I don't fully know how they work. I've personally signed all of them just because I guess I had some naive hope that it could come to something. I think I think there were some results they showed, like where they got the charge moved from second to third degree.
Yeah. I've seen stuff like that. I don't know exactly what they've done, but my problem with petitions is the whole same thing with the Black Lives Matter, the black squares. People think the black squares are useless because it doesn't get anything done. but it's just to spread awareness. Similarly, if we're being honest, petitions aren't really gonna make a lot of change. In America, it's a free country, so there's more leeway there. But the petitions to stop the war in Yemen, terrorists aren't gonna look at that after 7 years of killing kids in Yemen and be like, okay, let's stop this. 100,000 people want us to stop now. It's not gonna get anything done. So the whole idea of hating on people who posted the black squares because it does nothing, and then praising the people who promoted petitions, is just hypocrisy, because both of them get spread awareness, but neither of them get any tangible change done. Personally, I've signed petitions because, no harm in not doing it. Like, it's not like anything bad's gonna happen, but it won't make a difference. In all likelihood, I don't think it makes a big difference in the long run, except the occasional 1 or 2 petitions that get something done. For the most part, I think they're just, for virtue signaling to your followers and gaining more followers and being like, hey guys, look, I'm one of the good people, please follow me, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well, that was a pretty hefty episode, I guess.
Oh wait, oh my god, bro, it's been like an hour and a half actually.
It's been almost, yeah. But that was we started at one topic, but then we just talked about God and the world,
We wanted to touch on. So,
all right.
Thank you for coming on, Anikit. We look to have you again sometime in the future.
Yeah, hopefully. This was really fun. Like, I didn't even anticipate how much fun it's going to be talking to you guys.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Thank you so much, guys.
And
have a good one. Take care. See you, man.
See you.